Hello. First of all, welcome up all of you in this video lecture series of Secretarial Practice 12th Standard. Before starting this lecture, I just revised what we studied in previous lectures. We start topic number 10, that is dividend and interest. So far up to this lecture, we covered meaning of dividend, introductory part of the topic, definitions of dividend, and then features of dividend. So the next part, that is legal provisions regarding declaration or legal provisions regarding dividend. So the first provision, that is legal provisions on sources of amount of dividend. Sources of amount of dividend. Each and every company pay dividend. Then what is meant by dividend? Dividend is the part of profit which is distributed among the shareholder in respect of their shareholdings. Company may declare and pay dividend. Company may declare and pay dividend for any financial year. For any financial year out of the following. Out of current year profit. Out of current year profit. And this profit is calculated, that is profit after tax, profit after depreciation, and profit after transferring all amount of reserve to that respective reserve account, that is debenture redemption reserve account or any other reserve, that is after making payment of or making provisions of depreciation, transferring all types of reserve, the dividend is paid out of remaining profit. The dividend is paid out of remaining profit. Out of the profit of the company of any previous financial year. Out of the profit of the company of previous financial year, after providing for depreciation. After providing depreciation. Then what is meant by depreciation? All of you know, you studied the practical as well as theoretical part of the topic depreciation in 11th standard in accountancy. And last source of payment of dividend, that is money provided by the central or state government to pay dividend. Next, dividend can be paid out of capital profit. Then my question is, what is meant by capital profit? Capital profit arises only when company sells part of its fixed assets. Company sells part of its fixed assets at price higher than the original cost of such assets, or premium earned on the issue of shares, or the premium earned on the issue of shares. Capital profit means the profit arises when a company sells part of its fixed assets more than its original cost. It is known as capital profit. Dividend cannot be paid out of capital. This capital profit can be realized in cash, means after selling the assets, that is fixed assets, and the value of this fixed asset is more than its original cost, and the value of this capital profit is realized or having with the company in the form of cash. If articles of association, then what is meant by articles of association? Articles of association is the subordinate and secondary document to the memorandum of association, which contains the rules and regulations for internal management of the company, known as articles of association. If articles of association of company gives sanction, or there is provision in articles of association, then company declare dividend out of capital profits. It remains as a profit after revaluation of all assets and liabilities. Dividend can be paid out of capital. Dividend can be paid out of free reserve of company. Already in topic number second, when we discuss about important concepts, from topic number first to second to topic number 10th, many times we discuss this concept, that is dividend and free reserve. And free reserve, free reserve are the reserves available for free reserves are the reserves available for distribution of profit. Free reserve are the reserve available for distribution of profit as per latest audited balance sheet of the company. As per latest audited balance sheet of the company. So when we make interpretation analysis of all the contents regarding sources of dividend, dividend can be paid out of current year profit, dividend can be paid out of previous year profit, but after making provision for depreciation and amount transferred to reserve. Next, dividend can be paid out of the money given by central or state government. Even dividend can also be paid from capital profit, but must require to follow the certain conditions. These conditions are: capital profits are realized in cash. Capital profit means the profit which is arises after selling of fixed assets more than its cost price or more than its cost. There must be a permission or provision in articles of association. It remains as a profit after revaluation of assets and liabilities. Dividend can be paid out of capital. Dividend can be paid out of free reserve of the company. Dividend can be paid out of free reserve of the company. Next point, legal provisions for declaration of dividend. Legal provisions for declaration of dividend. Board meeting. Dividend can be declared only on, means the, as we discussed in yesterday's lecture, the dividend, the amount of dividend, the rate of dividend is recommended by board of director. For that purpose, board of director first conduct board of directors meeting. In board of directors meeting, they discuss the rate of dividend and recommend it. In this meeting, they also discuss and take various decisions regarding declaration of dividend, such as rate of dividend, amount of dividend to be paid, book closure date for dividend. Book closure means the date on which company pays dividend. For that particular date, all the books, for example, specifically the register of member is closed down. The register of member is closed down. Next, date of annual general meeting. As we discussed in last video lecture, the rate and amount of dividend is recommended by board of director but approved by shareholder by passing resolution in annual general meeting. Next, bank which is a separate account, that is dividend account, is to be open in scheduled bank for remittance, in other words payment of dividend. So all these decisions regarding opening dividend separate dividend account, date of finalization of date of annual general meeting, the finalization of rate of dividend and amount of dividend, the board of directors meeting is conducted. Next, shareholders approval. Dividend is approved by shareholders. Dividend is approved by shareholder by passing an ordinary resolution at annual general meeting. By passing an ordinary resolution at annual general meeting. Then what is meant by ordinary resolution? The resolution which is passed by 51% of majority known as ordinary resolution. Shareholder approve the rate of dividend which is recommended by board of director or less than that, but not the rate of dividend which is recommended by board of directors. And once the dividend is approved by shareholder in annual general meeting, it cannot be cancelled by company. Once it is approved by shareholder in annual general meeting, it creates debt, it creates loan on the company. Next point, separate bank account. The amount of deposit is deposited in separate dividend account which is opened by that company with the scheduled bank, and this amount is deposited in the separate account which is open in scheduled bank within 5 days of its declaration. Next point, listed company. Then what is meant by listed company? The company whose shares are listed with the stock exchange. The company whose shares are listed with the stock exchange known as a listed company. Where a company's shares are listed on the stock exchange, additional requirement with respect to listing arrangements must be followed, like those companies who list their shares with the stock exchange. So these listed companies must follow, while declaring dividend, the following guidelines. The first provision, the company whose shares are listed, the company whose shares are listed must give intimation, no, notification, information regarding board of meeting is conducted for recommendation board of meeting or board of director meeting is conducted for recommending final dividend for recommending final dividend within or prior 2 days or in advance 2 days of that particular board of directors meeting in which the board of directors recommend the dividend. Next, intimate stock exchange or give information to the stock exchange immediately after about declaration of dividend after the board meeting, that is date of annual general meeting, date of rate of dividend. This is all the material facts regarding declaration of dividend is conveyed through proper channel, proper way of communication to the stock exchange after the board meeting. Next, giving notice of book closure. Book close करनी. Giving notice of book closure to the stock exchange at least 7 working days before the closure. Then what is meant by book closure? My question is, what is meant by book closure? It means the time period when company does not handle any adjustments to the register or request to transfer shares. In simple language, during this period, that is book closure, when company closes its books for making entry of new member in the register of member and refuse to transfer shares in between that period in which company closed its books, specifically register of member, and on the date of book closure the dividend is paid to those members whose name is entered before the date of book closure only and not after the date. So this notice to the stock exchange regarding book closure is given 7 days before actual closing of books for entering the name of new member in the register of member. Close register of member and transfer register. And the company must use in today's competitive world and today's electronic, that is electronic payment mode, that is electronic clearing services ECS, NEFT, National Electronic Fund Transfer, for approved by RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, for payment of dividend. And one of the condition in case of listed company, these listed companies must express the dividend as per dividend per share basis. Dividend per share basis. For example, before 1 year, I have 10 shares of BHEL company, that is Bharat Heavy Electronic Limited company, and when I get a letter regarding dividend which is declared by BHEL company as a shareholder of BHEL company declared 0.80 paise dividend per share to me. So Behel company is listed company in National Stock Exchange and in Bombay Stock Exchange. So this company must pay dividend, that's listed company, as per share basis. Next, prohibition regarding payment of dividend. Prohibition regarding payment of dividend. If any company who wants to declare dividend and which fails to pay the amount of deposit, principal amount of deposit, interest amount of deposit, so such companies are not allowed to declare dividend to equity shareholders. And if any company fails to make a repayment to debenture holders, payment of interest to debenture holders, payment of repayment of preference share capital, dividend payment to preference share capital, so these companies also not allowed to declare dividend. So these are the restrictions for declaration of dividend.